Work. So I got my first job at a playground in the Netherlands. It's a pretty big playground with a cafe. You can get something to drink, like coffee and even beer, nothing special. Sandwiches to fries and soup. This was my first job, so of course I had no experience. The first 2 weeks went really easy, but as my boss had told me, there were usually a lot more people there. Then the day came. Entitled Mother and a whole bunch of other people came inside to order. But because it was a pretty small cafe, eventually all went outside, except for Entitled Mother. She ordered food for at least €50, which was pretty unusual for the cafe. But coincidentally, many co-workers were sick. So there was I, with one person working with me. I took the order and immediately began making the food. I'd warned her that it could take a little more time than usual to prepare the food, and she agreed on that. As I was preparing the food, my co-worker took more orders, and the kitchen became a little chaotic. Entitled Mother eventually storms into the cafe, demanding her food. 25 minutes had passed, and their food will be done in 5 minutes. But as she was tired of waiting, she demanded her money back. She didn't want any excuses, and she said that the kids are almost starved because of us. She was cussing at me with words I hadn't even heard someone use. I know it sounds pretty lame, but as an unexperienced human with minimum wage, you don't expect it when you're applying for a job. She then took 5 minutes to say that I'm a worthless cashier or something, and that I will get fired. Everyone was looking at us. She then demanded to talk to my manager. So I brought her my manager. She told me to give back her money, which I then did. This was the worst experience of my job so far. Child abandonment. So yesterday for me was very illuminating. My future mother-in-law decided that she wanted to go out. She told us some time in advance and that we should make plans. Now I made it clear that there was no way I could alter my schedule because I can't work 2 hours away from the babysitter. She and my fiancé choose that sitter because she lives close to where they work. My fiancé apparently also made zero plans to leave early. So the day comes and she flies off the handle at me because I didn't make plans to leave my job and travel 2 hours to get to the sitter so she could go out. I asked why she isn't screaming at her son, seeing as though it would take him 20 minutes to get to our daughter. She doesn't respond and says that she will never watch her again. I begged my job to allow me to leave early. They agree, even though we're short, and so I rush to get her. When I arrived to her house, I find that she left my daughter alone with her 10-year-old daughter. She tells me that she let me know that I was leaving and thought that I was close. They were in the house alone for 45 minutes before I arrived. I'm freaking seething with anger, and quite frankly, I really don't know how to react. I get that she wanted to go out, and I have no issue with that, but I told her from the beginning that I couldn't leave early. Her son made no attempt to arrange to leave early, but then she threw a tantrum, forced me to leave my job, then fucking abandoned my child. Entitled Kid's mum thinks we're going up on him. Alright, so me and my friends are playing football in our neighbourhood, as we usually do. But suddenly Entitled Kid comes out, who's about 7 years old, and tell us we should all play tag. We decided to entertain this idea. After we started it was normal, running around, a lot of shouting, but after Entitled Kid got tagged, he started crying. We were no more than 12 at the time, so we were confused. Suddenly he runs to Entitled Parent. Entitled Parent was known in my neighbourhood for being a bit crazy and over the top, blaming anyone else for anything that went wrong. Entitled Parent decides to go to my parents' house and proceeds to scream at my mother how I, my brother and our friends were bullying Entitled Kid. My mum didn't buy it one bit, yet she was still persistent. Even if we told her no, it was a game, she would say, "Why would you be so violent to my child by ganging up?" We never played with those kids again, and a few years ago they moved away. Entitled Parent accuses my mum of starving her child. This happened quite a while ago, and it was quite short, but here we go. EP is Entitled Parent, me is me, EK is Entitled Kid. This happened when I was about 6 or 7, but I remember it very clearly. I had a friend who I had known for about 3 months and had a good friendship with. One day he suggested that he could come over to my house for a day to play or something. I agreed, and so did my mother. She said that she had spoken to EK, my friend's mum, and had said EP agreed. We spent most of the day doing whatever the hell we did back then, and exhausting ourselves, until we were pretty hungry. I had one favourite meal back then, pasta with pesto. I suggested we have this, and EK very enthusiastically agreed. We waited for the food to be cooked, and during this time, due to miscommunication, EP arrived to pick up her child. We were fine with it and just came downstairs to eat, while EP and my mum chatted. I have no idea what went through EK's head at that point, but he took one look at the food, and then looked to his mother and bawled his eyes out, saying that he couldn't eat the meal he specifically asked Entitled Parent. But he took one look at his food, and then looked towards his mother and bawled his eyes out, saying that he couldn't eat the meal he specifically asked for. Entitled Parent got mad then and shouted at my mother. saying that she couldn't just put disgusting and poorly prepared food in front of her child and expect him to eat it. She accused my mum of trying to starve her child and giving me a normal meal. We were eating the same goddamn thing. Apparently my mum knew EK had pesto allergies. He didn't have any allergies of any kind, and that she was mistreating him. After that, she stormed out the door, dragging Entitled Kid behind her, saying we'd not heard the last of it. We had. Entitled Mother demanding gifts from my aunt. Lose-lose situation. So my aunt is a very kind and generous type. She invites everyone she considers family to her parties and holiday events. I have so many not aunts because of this and have the best family events because of it. No more sad holidays full of fighting and hitting. One of the gals she invites over had twins last year and locks herself away from everyone else out of laziness. She uses her husband as an excuse. This is our EM. She's been invited to every party this year. She lives just around the corner from my aunt too. A dozen events, a dozen excuses, and my aunt is done. She isn't going to invite her anymore. Entitled Mother has now sent a text saying what her little baby twins want for Christmas, expecting to get all those gifts from my aunt. My aunt has decided no, that's not okay. She's been completely distant from the rest of the family and now has the gall to ask for a slew of presents for babies we have never even met. My aunt feels like this is our lose-lose situation. Entitled Mother will be pissed at the one blanket being made for the twins, pissed that she got nothing for the babies, or my aunt will be out of a lot of money wasted on Christmas she isn't welcome to. This situation sucks and we're all angry about it. I'm sure the bitch fit that will be thrown on Christmas Day will be amazing, but we'll see. I'll be over for that day and I might get to see the drama. You can't insert yourself into our lives whenever it conveniences you. Woman's son tries to steal my iPhone 8. So it was about 1 week ago, and I, being a 13-year-old boy, was walking to the shops to get some batteries. The shops are literally right around the corner of my house. I arrived at the shop, say hi to the owner, I've known her all my life, and I pull out my phone to text my sister if she wants any soup or drink because she's sick, so I text her. She later replies with yep, just some tomato soup. I buy my batteries and my tomato soup and head home, but as I'm packing my stuff into my shopping bag, I drop my phone. A kid about 10 to 11 comes up to me and picks it. I think he's going to hand it to me. It turns out that it was to opposite. He runs off behind his decently large mother and hides. Behind her, I go up to the mum and explain what happened. This is how it went. Entitled Mother is the mother in this situation, and I'm the kid, is EK. Ma'am, can you tell your son to give me back my phone, please? Sure, just let him play with it for a bit. No, ma'am, it's a new phone and I need it back now. I need to get home. Entitled Mother, fine. Entitled Kid, give him his phone back. I don't have a phone though, and I want this one. Well then, there's nothing I can do. Ma'am, give me my phone or I'll have to call staff. Luckily a lady behind me watched this whole thing and joined in on my side. She will BW. Hello, I couldn't help but hear this conversation, ma'am. You need to give this boy back his phone. Your kid doesn't own it. It's his phone now. That boy punched him in the face. Ma'am, I know he didn't do that. I've been behind him the whole time. At this point, the boy was in front of the mother trying to open my phone, but failing. I look at the phone in his hands and I snatch it right from his grubby hands. I look at the shop. Entitled parent trying to chase me but falls over like a walrus in a fight. Since that day I have laughed about it since. Entitled mother, who is a devoted Christian, wants to remove her kid from RS class because they are learning about a religion that is not Christianity. So this story is not mine but my RS teacher's. I've made sure to get his permission before posting this. Mr. B just started a new topic in his RS class, which was Hinduism. Liam's kid obviously went home and told Ian about what they were learning in RS. Anyway, Entitled Mother sends a long email to Mr. B, and to summarise she said, I'm extremely unhappy about what my son is being taught in his RS lessons. Bear in mind that this email was sent to the deputy head teacher. The Entitled Mother did not realise that the deputy head was also her son's RS teacher. I think that my son, learning about any other religion than Christianity, will cause him to be infected with demons. This is only a shortened version, apparently. She went on and on and on. So Mr. B was obviously concerned with how the child was being brought up, especially with the rise in exorcism-related deaths. Mr. B replied with the whole, I apologise for any inconvenience and is there anything I can do to help, but being the good person Mr. B is, he added a stern word to the EM about what he thought about the situation. After that, the EM did not reply to the email and Mr. B heard nothing more, but a few weeks later, the kids stopped showing up to school. So Mr. B spoke to the head teacher, and the head teacher told Mr. B that the EM had changed their kids' school because a good scholarship came up. Anyway, there was nothing more that Mr. B could do, so he just moved on. Hey, thanks for watching to the end. If you want to leave a comment, go ahead.
I always see them. I always enjoy engaging with them. You can subscribe if you want, if you choose to. No, there's no pressure to. Or you can click one of the other videos on the screen now. Or you may even have a favourite subreddit that you'd like covered.